Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob, where we say, thank God the CEO of Twitter is finally stepping down so that Elon Musk can go back to focusing on Tesla as he should be in these trying economic times. Wait a minute, what's that? What's that? You're telling me Elon Musk wasn't CEO of Twitter? And that the CEO of Twitter stepping down is actually going to make him have to do more work on other things other than Tesla? Oh, yeah, that sounds right for 2025. Yeah, did you realize Elon Musk wasn't the CEO of Twitter? I forgot about that. I forgot about Linda Yaccarino. She's been there. She has been there for 2 years. I can say that. Anyways, doing my little shout out, my little blurb. If you don't know about Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com is my little pet project. We do fireside chats. On Monday, we're going to do a fireside chat with Louis Rossman to talk about his latest project. On Thursday, we're going to be talking with David Cox, a VP of AI models at IBM. We're going to be talking with him on Thursday. Basically, you can come to silicondojo.com. You can RSVP for these. They are Zoom calls, and basically you can ask your questions of real technology professionals. I have heard you. You have said, Eli, we're tired on continuously clicking your YouTube videos and only hearing you talk. Anyway, I've heard your complaints. So I'm bringing other people in, and you can hear their opinions. And then you can complain about their opinions, because apparently that's what people do in the modern world. Anyways, yeah, so Linda Yaccarino. So Elon Musk bought Twitter number of years ago at this point, and then about 7 months later, he brought in Linda Yaccarino as CEO of Twitter. And that is about the last goddamn time any of us heard about her. There was always a question when Linda was brought in as CEO of Twitter. There was like, what is her mark on history going to be for Twitter? And if the answer is none, you would be correct. Yeah, so she came in and I don't know, she did something. Do you believe it's been 2 years? It's been 2 years. And I do wonder how many people even realize that she was the CEO of Twitter for 2 years just because of Elon Musk, doing Elon Musk stuff. So from CNBC and everybody else, Linda Yaccarino steps down as CEO of Elon Musk's X. And as the world goes, huh, what? I thought Elon Musk was the CEO. Anyways. This is one of those things that you have to be careful about. If you're going to be working with like startup companies and technology companies, a lot of times positions have to be filled for regulatory compliance reasons, for investor reasons, for a whole bunch of different reasons. Positions have to be filled. It doesn't mean that the owners or founders necessarily want to give up control. And so one of the things you do have to be careful about in our world is taking a position where you get the title, but no authority or power that goes along with that title. That can be a real significant issue. I've talked about that before. I had a buddy of mine who, a long time ago, 15 years ago, 16 years ago, right, he got a job. He was one of those government type people, spooky government type people. Anyways, he got a job as like the cybersecurity lead for a government project. And so he was the head of this project, the cybersecurity head of this project, and he was making $250,000 a year. So he was making $250,000 a year. And we're talking about like 16 years ago. And I talked to him. I was like, wow, that's amazing. That's wonderful. That's great. And he said, no, it actually sucks ass. And I said, why? And he said, well, because he's just playing solitaire all day. And what he explained was for the bureaucratic process, right, there's all this red tape in order to get government projects. And so in that red tape, the government is going to specify certain positions or certain qualifications that need to be on the team that is deploying something. Right? And so when the request for proposal went out for this particular project, one of the requirements is that there is a cybersecurity professional of a certain caliber on the project to lead the cybersecurity for the project. The issue is that the project didn't actually need it, right? The government wrote in this position that just wasn't needed, and he literally said that. He wasn't being lazy or anything else. He was bored out of his mind. And when I talked to him, he was just like, yeah, I mean, the team's a great team. The team's doing exactly what the hell they're supposed to be doing. They literally just don't need me, but the contract needs me. So he was making $250,000 a year, literally playing solitaire. So anyways, when I talk about when I get snarky about this whole job thing, you'll realize on all sides of it, it is a bit of a stupid thing in the tech world. But anyways, this is something that you have to be concerned about in the technology world and even the business world, is becoming a token, right? There's a lot of talk about like black tokens or women tokens or whatever else. This was something that was done in Baltimore City a lot, where basically you'd hire a black guy as a CEO, and then they got paid to literally be CEO, right? You have this. This profitable company, but in order to get certain contracts in the Baltimore area, right, there was preferences for like black run companies, right? And so you would have a whole bunch of white guys get together, have an idea for a company, slot in a black guy as CEO. They are now CEO. Company makes a lot of money. And if you understand what you're getting hired for, that can be a good thing. If you actually think you're being hired to be a CEO, it can be a bit of a brutal story there. And so that is something to consider, right? And that's where you look at like Linda Yaccarino, right? She was brought in 2 years ago to be CEO of Twitter. And the idea there is maybe she'd be like the person who's running SpaceX. So you think about Elon Musk, and you think about all of his hijinks and all that kind of stuff. And as far as companies go, you think about Twitter and you think about Tesla. You don't really think about SpaceX a lot. Because SpaceX is just basically doing what it's doing, right? He has his big starship or whatever that keeps exploding. But the main core of the SpaceX business just keeps running along. Shotwell or whatever. Anyways, there's this woman who actually runs the SpaceX business, and she just keeps her head down and runs the fucking business. So even with Elon Musk being spastic, batshit, drug-addled crazy, SpaceX basically just keeps doing what it's doing. And so the idea here was with Twitter, right? Since Twitter is the global town square, that's what he says. I haven't used Twitter in years, but anyways, the idea is, okay, bring in the CEO, and even if Elon Musk buys, basically like Elon Musk is the caretaker owner, right? He's going to own it. He is going to give the responsibilities to run it to Linda Yaccarino, the CEO, and then it shall flourish so everybody can do free speech. Linda gets hired, and then everybody forgets that she exists because Elon Musk won't shut the hell up and doesn't seem to give her a whole lot of authority. It's just one of those like, think about it. It's been 2 years. Did you remember that she existed? So anyways, Linda Yaccarino on Wednesday announced she is stepping down as CEO of Elon Musk's social media site X after 2 years in the role. Time goes by. Quote, when Elon Musk and I first spoke of his vision for X, I knew it would be the opportunity of a lifetime to carry out the extraordinary mission of this company. Question, what's the mission of the company? Again, I don't even know what the mission is. I can't even be snarky. I can't even be like mean about the mission of the company. I don't really even know what the mission of the company is at this point. Yaccarino wrote in a post on X, I'm immensely grateful to him for entrusting me with the responsibility of protecting free speech, turning the company around, and transforming X into the everything app. Have you done any of that? Have you done any of that? Yaccarino did not give a reason for her departure, but her exit had been in the works for more than a week. That's hilarious, because that's what sometimes you hear when there's like a transition period. They'll be like, well, the public was unaware of this, but we have been in this process for a year. Like normally when you're going to swap out a CEO, It's a little while. The process is supposed to be a little while. Like, we've been in this process for a year, or you've been in this process for 6 months, or there was an issue, a family issue that she has to deal with, so we expedited this, and it's been going on for 3 months now. We need to think about this. Her exit had been in the works for more than a week. A single solitary. She is CEO of, well, what the fuck is it? Because X got wrapped into XAI. Like, all this stuff is so we live in the most confusing time frame. So XAI purchased X, or consumed X, or whatever else. So before XAI consumed X or Twitter, or whatever, was a tens of billions of dollar company. So maybe it's a $10 billion company. Maybe it's a $40 billion company. It's definitely worth between $40 billion and absolutely nothing. It is somewhere within that range. Anyway, it's a lot of money. It's a reasonable, it's a company. It's a real fucking company. However you feel about Twitter, it's a real company. And just for it to be like, well, you know, we've known about this for more than a single week. Think about this. If you have a help desk team, and basically the person one of the people on the help desk team just bounces in a week, right? That's got to be a pain in the ass for the rest of the team. That's for the fucking help desk. This is the CEO. Anyways, Musk responded to Yaccarino's post on Wednesday and said, quote, "Thank you for your contributions." Hey, Musk, yeah, could you tell us what her contributions actually were? Could you spell them out? Could you bullet point what the hell she's actually done in the past 2 years? Not even being mean. Inquiring minds would like to know. Musk announced he hired Yaccarino as CEO of X in May 2023, months after he purchased a social blogging site, Twitter, for $44 billion. Throughout her 2 years as chief executive, Yaccarino acted as a staunch supporter of Musk and repeatedly defended him on social media. Because, you know, that's why you should be a CEO of a $44 billion company. You know, when I think about becoming a CEO of a $44 billion company, yeah, I want to spend my days defending a batshit crazy owner. Anyways, Yaccarino previously worked at NBC Universal and rose to the top of the company's global advertising business. She was primarily tasked with overseeing the business operations at X, which included trying to placate advertisers as a social platform underwent substantial changes to its safety and content moderation policies. After Musk hurled insults, including "go F yourself" at advertisers during the 2023 Deal Book Summit, for instance, Yaccarino described Musk's comments as, quote, "an explicit point of view about our position." Quote, "We're a platform that allows people to make their own decisions," Yaccarino wrote on X, "and here's my perspective when it comes to advertising. X is standing at a unique and amazing intersection of free speech and Main Street, and the X community is powerful and is here to welcome you. To our partners who believe in our meaningful work, thank you." And that's the end of the story. That's the end of the story. Like CNBC, like however you feel about CNBC, it is like the business network for armchair business people. And I just want you to think about this. She was CEO of Twitter for 2 years. And basically, the only credit they give her in the CNBC piece is that she defended Elon Musk. The CEO of a $44 billion technology company, and the most they can credit her for in 2 years is that she told people to stop being mean to Musk. Yeah. I hope she got paid a lot. I hope she's like my buddy, at least. She may have been sitting there playing solitaire all day and sending back mean tweets. Hopefully she got paid a shit ton of money to do that. So yeah, I think this is also going to be very interesting now too. with all the disaster of just Elon Musk, right? Tesla is in a wonky place. Tesla's in a wonky place. The robo-taxi debut is lackluster, to say best. Sales of Teslas are tanking. The Cybertruck is basically an abject failure at this point in time. The Trump administration is ripping away the subsidies and the benefits that Tesla made billions and billions and billions of dollars a year off of. Tariffs are going through the roof, so I do know, I understand a lot of stuff for Tesla is manufactured in the United States. But, I mean, we're looking at a 50% copper tariff. I mean, how much copper goes into a Tesla vehicle? Again, you know, you got the steel tariff, you got the aluminum tariff, you got the copper tariff, you have all that kind of stuff that's going to hit, you know, electric vehicles. At the exact same time, right, he's just, you know, having a food fight with Trump. He's coming up with a new political party, the America Party, however you feel about that, but that's another thing that he's doing. At the exact same time, Trump is literally floating the idea of deporting his ass back to South Africa. And so all of this is going on. And then Linda Yaccarino steps down from Twitter as CEO. Is that going to make you more comfortable as an investor in Tesla? There's a whole thing going on right now. I need to do a little bit more research before I talk about it. But apparently they're coming up, they're supposed to have a shareholder meeting. So whenever you're a publicly traded company, you're supposed to have shareholder meetings every once in a while. Because remember, the shareholders are the actual owners of the company. Elon Musk is not the owner of Tesla. The shareholders are the owners of Tesla. He happens to own 13% or whatever, 14% of Tesla, but that's it. The other shareholders own the rest of Tesla. So there's supposed to be shareholder meetings within certain periods of time. In Texas, apparently there's supposed to be a shareholder meeting at least every 13 months. And from what I've been able to tell, so I'm recording this on Thursday, Sunday marks the 13-month mark that they've been in Texas and have not had a shareholder meeting. And apparently the shareholders are like, what the fuck? Like they haven't been told that there's going to be a meeting. A meeting hasn't been scheduled. Right, and this is actually in law. This is in law in Texas that this is something that has to be done, and they don't know what's going on with that. So think about being a Tesla shareholder now, when all the Tesla shareholders have been asking, is Elon Musk, please do your damn job. You're CEO of Tesla, which has made you the bulk of your money. The least you can fucking do is do your job. And in that scenario, the CEO of Twitter steps down. And what do you think that's going to do for Elon Musk's, ability to focus on Tesla or whatever? It'll be curious to see. The other thing we'll be curious to see is who Linda gets replaced with. One of the big concerns is with Elon Musk, especially with this whole generation of like the techno kings, like the masters of the universe, these tech founders, is that their egos are so wrapped up in their companies that a big question that comes out is, what happens when it's time for another big ego to step up? Right? I'll say it. I don't like Twitter. I think Twitter's a piece of shit, but it's a real company. It's a real company. It's not part of X, whatever the fuck's going on with that. But anyways, realistically, being CEO of that company is a full-time job. I'm going to say something very controversial. The Elon Musk fanboys are just going to find this unacceptable that I say this. But being a CEO is a real job. It's a real job. And so Twitter or X or whatever the fuck's going on should have a real CEO. It should have a real full-time CEO that's working 50, 60 hours a week just on Twitter and X. And if they did that, they would rise in prominence. People would start talking about them. There were probably, there'd be people banging heads because the CEO of Twitter would want Twitter to grow, which means he'd probably want Elon Musk to shut up a little bit. So therefore, you'd have the CEO telling Elon Musk, you need to calm down, which I don't think Elon Musk is going to accept. Like, what happens when you have these masters of the universe that refused to put qualified people into leadership positions. I think about this years ago. I was watching this BBC special, right? So there was like the guard prisoner experiment that was done in Stanford back in the 70s. Back when you could truly torture college students. Anyway, so there's this experiment done in Stanford back, I think it was in the 70s, and basically students were brought in, so like 40 students or however many students were brought in. Half of them were turned into guards in a prison, and half of them were turned into prisoners in a prison. And then basically the researcher wanted to understand how people basically adapted to the title that they were given. And it was interesting, right? They randomly selected guards versus prisoners, and within a period of time, prisoners were acting like prisoners, guards were acting like abusive guards. Literally, the experiment had to be shut down. It had to be shut down because it was going the fuck off the rails. Anyways, BBC, or one of those things in England, the UK, about 20 years ago, they decided to create a television show and basically replicate that experience. But the difference was is that the guards could hire new guards out of the prison population. So the quirk with this is, what happens when you give the guards the ability to hire other guards? What does that whole process look like? It also, surprise, surprise, devolved into a crap show. But one of the things that came up with that particular experiment is that, remember, the guards and the prisoners were selected at random, right? So it wasn't like the people with college degrees or that could run marathons or whatever became guards and the druggies became prisoners. It was just at random. So what they found was the concern with the guards is that the guards didn't want to be shown up by other guards. The guards weren't really sure if they were doing their jobs well. They weren't really comfortable with where they were in the pecking order. And so when it came to hire new guards out of the prisoner population, instead of going for the prisoners who would be the most qualified to be guards, they actually went to the prisoners who were least qualified to be guards so that they would not be shown up, right? And that's one of the reasons it, yet again, evolved into idiocy, is because week after week, the guards literally became worse and worse and worse and worse because they were selecting the worst potential guards to be the replacements. Anyways, this becomes an interesting question in this modern world with these masters of the universe, whether you look at Mark Zuckerberg, whether you look at Elon Musk, whether you look at maybe even Jack Dorsey, some of these other folks. Are they selecting the best? With Agrawal, right? So Parag Agrawal was the CEO to replace Jack Dorsey. So Jack Dorsey was another one of these masters of the universe, right? He helped found Twitter. He helped found Square that turned into Block, right? You know, he's going to go to Africa and save the black people or some horse shit, right? Anyways, right? He's Jack Dorsey. So it is interesting that with Twitter, it went from Jack Dorsey to Parag Agrawal. And I'm not snarking at Parag Agrawal. Apparently he was very, very good from a technical standpoint. But when you think about the CEO of a social media company, he was a bit of a piece of cardboard. Hey, look, cardboard is very useful, but it's cardboard, right? And it is interesting to look at that. And if you look at, like, with Elon Musk hiring Linda Yaccarino, at no time did Linda outshine Elon Musk. She literally did not outshine Elon Musk to the point that I kind of forgot that she was even there, right? 2 years in the job, and CNBC can basically come up with, yeah, well, she defended Elon Musk a lot. She was CEO of this company. Right? So what happens in this world where the egos are so wrapped up in the founders and owners that they can't hand over the full responsibility to somebody that would be completely capable for actually doing the job? What does that look like for these companies? And then since so many of these companies, you know, are integral to our society, not so sure about Twitter, but let's just say it. Let's just say it for a second. But then what does that do for these platforms that are basically utilities for our society? It's kind of interesting. Like I put out an interview request or fireside chat request with Anduril. So they do with the mass at scale or whatever, basically the weapon systems. And so you have Palmer Luckey, right? So Meta, or Facebook at the time, Mark Zuckerberg, bought Oculus. Palmer Luckey was the CEO, owner, whatever, of Oculus. And then in rather short order, he got kicked out of Facebook because he said wrong think or something like that. Well, what's interesting is most of the other, like when Instagram, WhatsApp, you don't hear a lot about those founders anymore. But with Palmer Luckey, he went out, he created Anduril. They're doing, I think it's $30 billion. They have a $30 billion valuation already. He's like 29, 30 years old. He's actually doing some really impressive stuff. And so you kind of think about that, and you think about that, is this person who may create like a significant, I think Palmer Luckey is probably the Elon Musk for his generation. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. We'll find out in 20 years. Anyways, I think he's the Elon Musk for his generation. And think about it, that he got kicked out of Facebook. How much further down the road could Facebook be with their whole metaverse thing if he hadn't been fired? And it really brings the question of what is this world going to look like with all these egos and things? I'll be curious to find out. I will be curious to find out, and I will be here every day to laugh at the insanity with you. So what do you think about this with Linda Yaccarino stepping down as CEO of Twitter? Did you even realize that she was CEO of Twitter? If you're sitting there listening to the CNBC article and saying, well, that's unfair, I know Linda did more than that, please, in the comment section down below, please tell us in 2 years what the fuck the CEO of Twitter actually did other than defend Elon Musk. Put your thoughts down below. Anyways, give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down. Give us a great comment or a horrible comment. In the modern world of social media, as we all know, all that matters is interaction. So put your thoughts down below. And with that, I'll see y'all later.